The League of the Genuine is back. We're still just opening the New Year account, 2022. We hope that you have started the New Year in style, steadfast. We hope it will be a counterfeit-free New Year. We continue our series of the League of the Genuine, having conversations with people from various walks of life. We have a very interesting young man here in the media. Actually, I'm surprised at his age, considering what he's already achieved and done in the TV broadcasting space. Mr. Canary Mugume needs no introduction, really, because you have graced the face of Ugandan TV. It looks like for 10, 20 years. But I am surprised that you are only 27 years, and yet you are top in the business. So welcome, Canary.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
First of all, I'm happy that you agreed to come and talk on this show at a time when you have continued to do what you do best, which is to do investigative journalism into counterfeits and fakes. And you have just broken a story about the fake COVID vaccination certificates. So maybe we just start there. Is this a one-off? I mean, why is it that you have reported this story? Is that something you're passionate about, or you get paid for this kind of stories? What is the story behind this?
So I do investigative journalism, and that's my main role, besides being an anchor at NBS Television. Sometimes my stories are driven by the trends. Sometimes it is driven by an idea that I've formed over a long period of time, and therefore I need to execute it. This particular one was driven by a trend. From the New Year message, we had that everyone who moves and uses public transport must carry a vaccination card. So on the start of the week, I went to the public transport sector in the bus park and the taxi park and asked, is this being enforced? They said, well, some people are, some people are not. Some carry their vaccination cards, some people don't. But then for me, it went back to understanding enforcement by government, because they had left the duty to the taxi operators. Then, now try to understand that also teachers are being asked, because schools were going to reopen, teachers were being asked to also show up with their vaccination cards. Then Cabinet had recommended that for every person who goes to a public place, school, church, and whatnot, it's coming. Even in the malls, to access a mall, you have to use a vaccination card. It's going to come. So, but then you also have vaccine hesitancy. People don't want to take vaccines because of what they have had, because of their own issues and their own reasons. And remember, vaccines are not mandatory. So now people started to resort to fake vaccines. So
Fake vaccines and fake vaccination cards.
yes, fake vaccines and fake vaccination cards. Fake vaccines, people who wanted quick money. I'll come vaccinate you, and you give me 80,000, and then that will be it, because I don't want to go to a government health center to queue up. But then, you see, that's not permitted because it should be done by the Ministry of Health. So there was a story of fake vaccines actually last year, around October.
Yes.
And people were being vaccinated with water and given vaccination cards that were vaccinated. But then there's also an issue of the fake vaccination cards. So because of the demand of each and every person moving around with a vaccination card, people resorted to, some people lost their vaccination cards, others never got vaccination cards, others have never been vaccinated. So they said, it's just a paper, really, that's all they need? Let me go and forge a document and move around with it. Who will know, after all? So that is really what
tell me,
drove.
So you get a tip-off because there's a requirement to carry vaccination cards in public transport, back at schools, and so on. So my question is, what do you find when you go on the ground. Do you find it being done openly, for example? Is it freely being issued, the fake vaccination card, or must you go through some broker and go down some alley to, is it done in open sight or it's hidden?
So when you watch the story, when I go to Nasa Road, a street popularly known for many other businesses, but also known for forging credentials and documents, I go there and start to ask around. I need a vaccination card. I had changed and disguised as a buyer of a fake vaccination card.
You had a cape on?
I had a cape on, I had a mask, I had glasses, I had beards, so I had just disguised. And it's open. No one is going to say, who are you, why do you need it for? No, it's open, like, oh, you need the card, I'll take you. Where this is done, where you can access it. So what I also...
They didn't ask for your details, like there was no caution to say, are you a spy or are you somebody from the police? Or there was no risk?
Nothing, because as I said earlier, this street is known for forging credentials and documents. Anyone who goes there, they'll ask you, what do you need? I mean, they do genuine business. This is not to demonize the street, but these things also happen there. So I go and sit down and tell me, what do you want exactly? I said, I lost mine, but I can give you the details from... Said, okay, give us your national ID. Now, of course, I couldn't give them my national ID. I told them, I can give you the details on my national ID, or the details of my lost vaccination card. They said, fine, we need your name, we need your age, and leave the rest to us. Surprisingly, they do not print the vaccination card in your presence. They told me to be ready in 20 minutes, pay 45,000. Okay, they started from about 60. And then we bargained until 45,000. I said, fine, I'll pay that. He said, first pay the money and then we can get it for you. We print it there while you're seeing. So I paid the money and someone, as if he's working on a document just in front of me in an office. And then I'm called outside to go and pick it, that it's ready.
So you waited for a few minutes?
Yeah, about 15. I said, but I thought it's being worked on there because I had a secret camera on and I wanted to film the entire process. And I had sat directly to the person who had been told is working on it. So it's kind of open, but still not so open. So I'm called to go outside and pick the vaccination card. It's ready. I thought it's going to be printed there. I said, no, it's ready. So I got out of the building and I'm handing the vaccination card. It has Mengo hospital stamps that are fake. It has a fake AstraZeneca lot seal. It has fake batch numbers. It has a fake serial number and a fake outlook.
Obviously, you say it's fake because you see it was just fabricated there.
It was fabricated there. But having scrutinized it, looks like these guys have a template and they're just waiting to fill in your names.
Now, did this fake vaccination card have similarities with the genuine vaccination card?
Up to 99.9%.
Similar?
Yeah. Because in the story, I tried to portray the genuine one and the fake one. And for about 2 hours, I could not tell the difference. Everything, including these guys using, because you know you take 2 shots or 2 jabs, and therefore the dates are written and they are 8 weeks apart or 12 weeks apart. And they were exactly 12 weeks apart, and they're even written in different ink.
So these vaccination cards, the genuine ones, who signs them and who signed this one? Is the signature also forged?
So the health center attendant who has vaccinated is the person who signs the. It's not like money, that all money is signed by the Governor Bank of Uganda. No, where you go and get the jab is where they put a stamp and the person signs for you. So you can have 1 million signatures across the entire country. So no one is going to say, this is not the signature of this person, because the name is not there. And that's the problem with now the original. So the name is not there.
Of the issuing authority?
Yes, there's no issuing authority. You can get it from a private health center, you can get it from a government health center, and that's all okay. So looking at this fake card, It has Mengo Hospital stamps and signature. Who really is going to look at a signature from Mengo Hospital and tell this?
Who knows it first of all?
Exactly. I think the only signature we know is either for the president or Governor Bank of Uganda, because those are everywhere. But these others, and now that brings in issues. How do you tell the original one from the fake one? So I'll tell you why. After scrutinizing, there's an AstraZeneca seal. They write the batch numbers of that specific tin where they've got the shot, and they write it there. Then they put a seal, whether AstraZeneca or Cyva or whatever. It's a white thing with a barcode. So how I was able to tell that this is fake, the barcode is not scannable.
It is not scannable.
It is not scannable.
For the genuine, it's machine readable, it's scannable. Where?
Yeah, it's scannable.
Where? Are there like points where you're supposed to have it scanned?
I think that they produce this for the future in case they need verification. And I think we're in the future now where we need verification. Yeah, but that fake AstraZeneca is a little bit bigger in size. The details are not accurate, but also the barcode is not scannable. It's as small as this, but it's just there.
So after you report this story, it breaks, it's part of headline news in NBS. One might ask, so what? So then what happens?
So one, government has since realized, and I'll tell this because from their comments you can tell that now they're like, oh, we did not think about this in the first place. So government has realized that what they're trying to enforce perhaps has a lot of challenges that they need to deal with. The Ministry of Transport has since asked the Ministry of ICT through NITAU to go on and produce an application that is able to read all genuine vaccination cards and tell the difference between the genuine ones and the fake ones. I don't know how long this is going to take or whether this is the most efficient way, but that's what the Minister of Transport and Works, General Katumba Wamala, said yesterday at a press briefing at Media Center.
So as media, this is not the first time, Canary, that you are reporting about counterfeits and fakes. Maybe you can just tell us the ones you've done before this. You've done cosmetics, you've done the milk issue, you've done so many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Including one on Lake Victoria. I went to the landing sites and people are complaining there that the fish is being depleted in the lake. Why? Because they were using fake fishing nets, and therefore these nets are able to pull out small fish that stops the fish in the lake from reproducing if you fish out small fish. And therefore I went to town where they buy it, went through some corners until I landed on people who sell fake fishing nets, and they are plastic and they are from China. And I put UNBS on the spot on all these investigations I do on counterfeits. The problem looks to be bigger than we actually think. It's big.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking this is because we who are crusading for the last 15, 20 years against counterfeits feel let down to a large extent by the media. To get TV programming to report on fakes is very difficult. Even that story that the report you filed, I don't know whether it did more than, how many minutes was it? 5 minutes? Or
yeah, 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes. But you'll find that NBS probably for that day had a lot of current affair programming for hours. Now, to get a media house to give airtime, to report on such important things that affect our health and wealth generally, like fakes, is very difficult. And the attitude for the media houses is that they would like to follow the flow, if you like, follow the interest for the audience. If the interest of the audience is dancing, for example, entertainment, that is where we shall go. because that's where the advertisers will follow. So do you feel a sense of maybe hopelessness or frustration on your part as an investigative journalist, that you file story after story about fake this, fake that, and the story stops there?
Yeah, I feel let down by the media itself, but also other stakeholders like government. But for the media, I can sympathize with it. Not because I am a player there, but because I understand that for you to be able to report and give time to reporting about fakes, there's need for training. Training. So I'll throw it back to you. The people who have been in this field for 10, 15, 20 years, there's need for you to actually engage media, train reporters, and train even the editors that assign these stories. Remember that we are reporters, but we also have our supervisors. If the supervisor tells you this is the direction of the bulletin today, there's no way you're going to oppose. So the editors, as supervisors, also need training to understand the consequences, the effects of having fakes on our lives. When they do understand that, they accord more time of reporting and space on air. But because that training is lacking, we're able to go, we think that actually our audience likes music, politics, maybe they do. But if we introduced this new concept to them and how impactful it is on their lives, maybe they would buy.
But is it possible to make an argument that the media house is the one that influences the audience and not the audience influencing the media house in terms of content?
Absolutely. And that is what I'm saying, that for us, if we think that music and politics actually drive numbers, both online and on air, why don't we, because you see this training, lack of this training leaves a vacuum of information. Now that this information is actually not available, we do not give it attention, and therefore we are unable to influence the audience and what it should watch. But if this training was available and the editors and reporters themselves understand the fakes in the market, perhaps they would even create, like how you see a health desk, a business desk, a fakes desk, because you see this has an impact on our health directly and our wealth, like you said. So it is true, but there's need to start somewhere.
I think to give you credit, even if I say that it may be frustrating, I think that a step is taken to even report about it is something that should be applauded. But can we have more programming even after your story to create more awareness? Okay, I had somebody saying that there was a plan, I think by UCC or somebody, to not to allow certain programming or to shift certain programming to late in the night. There was something like that.
Yeah.
That instead of putting comedy and whatever programming during prime time, during the time when we should be communicating and educating audiences, it should be moved away. I am thinking that as fakes continue to bite, probably you're going to change the structure of how you report. Because even if we go to news, for example, before we take a break, even if we go to news, you'll find that there's a lot of reportage which is more on sensationalizing. You get some debate, for example, in Parliament about some bill in respect of something. And then the media angle will only highlight some sharp words which the opposition MP said, and then somebody fired back, and then we don't have the content. In other words, I'm trying to say that the investigations that you are doing and the kind of reporting you are doing stands far apart from the quality of the content. If you look at our news, many times they will quote somebody and he's actually said nothing. We've not understood what the guy has said, but the cameraman was interested in the gesture how did he look and so on. So I'm thinking that maybe we need to follow your kind of eye. You go down the alley, Nasa Road, get that detail, and you can see 3 minutes, 5 minutes. We are able then to get an approach and some kind of, so don't you think something is lacking in I know you're saying the editors, the program director and so on, but still you are part of that estate.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we need to approach it in a regulatory perspective. The regulator, which is UCC, should be able to enforce certain measures so that this kind of thing happens. Otherwise, the way it came in and say, if it's about gossip and whatnot, let it air after 10 p.m. You're going to bring all these characters to speak, let them come after 10 p.m. But from day up to maybe 9:55, we should have this kind of content and this type of quality. Maybe if the regulator came in, perhaps we can see some
But
change.
you can also do self-regulation.
Yeah, there's self-regulation, and this is, I think, what I'm doing now. You know, maybe if people actually look at these stories and they're in different newsrooms, my hope is that they can, you know, pick a leaf and be able to report about the same content that we do report about.
We need to take a break. When we return with Canary Mugume, we shall be talking about fake news. Let's take a break. Welcome back to the second segment of our conversation here with a leading media personality, though he's a young person, but Canary Mugume has made a name for himself as being one of those top journalists you have interviewed. I don't know, how many presidents?
Maybe 3.
3 presidents. And you're quite incisive. I have seen some of the interviews, meaning you do a lot of preparation. But there is a monster, there is a vice that is part of the counterfeit culture that has eaten into media industry, and that is fake news. What do you think has prompted the growth of this vice in the media industry? What is fueling it?
Well, social media. Every person has now become a journalist. I mean, before, being a journalist, you know, dealt with sharing genuine information, creating the content and sharing it. But now, with social media, it's easy to create content and share it. If I stood outside on the road and said, Muwema's office is on fire, and I put it on social media, people would share. But so everyone has become a journalist. Create content, share it at any time, and the people who receive the content will share it. And because of the so many billions and billions of accounts we have online, it's easy to share, and this information is disseminated. But I think that we also, as consumers, love information that is sensationalized, information that is alarming, and therefore, before we even verify, we share. There's that share button on each and everything. And even if a story was small and fake, in just about 10 minutes, if I said there was a bomb scare at Fairway traffic lights, and it's just a tweet, and I have 500 followers, and someone with 50,000 followers just makes a retweet, it means that it has gone now to all his followers, and all few of his followers also retweet. So it just spreads so widely. Therefore, I think we need to think about what we share. And also
so how are you journalists safeguarding against this? I know you have editorial policy, or the editorial policy now went away with everybody being a journalist now and everybody reporting.
No. I think the editorial policy still stands, and we find ourselves actually in some circumstances, especially around certain events, that we run away from what the real news is of the day, and we go to verify what people are saying online. So there's something happening in Parliament, it's a serious bill that is going to impact on our lives, but someone has just shared that so-and-so has been appointed, you know, and therefore we leave this story and we go to verify. But we have a responsibility as journalists, regardless of what our different editorial policies are in different newsrooms. We have a responsibility to share authentic information, but also verify it. When there is a fire somewhere, I'll receive tweets where I'm tagged, and even calls, even from my own family, to verify information because they know I'm a journalist. So I think that responsibility still sits inside our profession, and we cannot run away from it.
So do you think traditional media has lost control to social media? You are basically following social media rather than it following
no, absolutely not. Social media might have had an impact on the kind of work that we do and how we do it. But I think that the audience out there still thinks that traditional media still has a role to play in sharing authentic information. If, for example, people on social media do not have the resources to verify or authenticate certain information, or even investigate. Let's go to the field that I work in, or even to investigate a matter and conclusively put it to rest. They don't have the resources, they also don't have the sources, and yet traditional media does. And therefore, social media has had an impact on how we do our work, and actually sometimes even pushed our work, but traditional media, I think, still stands and has not lost it. And I think the audience
There's a
knows
lot
this.
of fake news if we are to stay close to the COVID issue. There's a lot of fake information, which now we don't even know whether it's fake or not. For example, there is information saying that COVID is not real. You have it all over social media. You have some doctors saying the vaccines kill, some saying. Why is it that if the traditional media has the leadership on issues of information, why is it that you've not come out to give us a concrete position, an official? Why is it that the other stories don't die out? The ones that this will kill you, don't take the jab. How are you dealing with that thing? Because there's a lot of conflicting information. Don't take the jab. There is no COVID. It was manufactured. How are you, as traditional media, balancing?
It's a big challenge, and it's another pandemic. Fake information and misinformation is another pandemic. We do not know how to deal with it. We've devised means. For example, like in the newsroom, we've created a desk that verifies such information and looks at what the experts are saying. But COVID is a new thing, and we're also battling with it. Verifying authentic information takes time. So sometimes you actually have to leave an issue unattended to for a number of days until we find authentic information.
But meanwhile, the fire is running.
Yeah, it's fueling. And like this Omicron, when it started in South Africa, you know, people are like, Omicron. Then something strange hit Uganda. Then so one case has been reported, then 23 cases, then 25. And then people started, you know, suffering from malaria. They go to hospital and malaria will be detected. I was one of them. And then there's something on social media there's this strange disease that has hit Africa that is not COVID. And we're also confused. We're like, maybe that's it. So we took a while until we actually heard from the experts. And I think this is where they're even more important. So as opposed to creating our own information and trying to verify, we actually run to the experts But it's also a challenge now because the experts also are waiting for science to speak. They're waiting for their own laboratory tests to tell them what it is, and therefore we have to give it time. Meanwhile, it's circulating. So it's a big challenge, but I think we've...
Do you think the challenge of this fake news is being worsened by a lot of online news publications? Because it's very easy for you to have an online publication and they produce the news, it's maybe not verified to the standard, and it's there. Are these online publications and bloggers worsening the situation, and how are you dealing with it?
Yes, absolutely they are, and it's a problem with the regulation. There was a conversation on every blogger or website should register with the UCC, the regulator, and this did not come off well with the audience, and yet it was actually going to help. Take down all the other blogs that are not authenticated and are not real, because now if I want to run a campaign and I'm a businessman, all I do is create about 5 websites and then just share a link of a story that I want to fuel in the public, and this story will be shared widely, whether it's fake or not. So I think, yeah, it's the what we've tried to do in our newsrooms is when a story comes out, we try to inform the public whether it's fake or not. You've had a lot of scares on bombs, and we actually run to the scene to see with our eyes. We've had a lot of news of people who have died, and we call them. If they are not picking and something is wrong, we call their families, and we try to authenticate as much as we can. But there's just so much, and there's also a big overflow of information coming in that sometimes we can't take in. And then lastly, we've also tried to educate the public on how to verify and authenticate information on their own. So when they see a tweet from the president with a verified tick, we tell them, go to the Twitter handle and verify if actually, you don't need to wait for a journalist to do that. Go to the Twitter handle of the president and see if actually that tweet exists.
So that's how you are able to, to check it?
Yes, so teaching people on how to verify on their own is also good, and really comes down what should otherwise be alarming.
But as a media outlet that does a lot of broadcasting to the public, even when you get out of the area of COVID, you are a source of information for a lot of advertisements for products and so on and so forth. You are advertising products. For example, you advertise Mukama Nayamba, those male booster things and so on. And then the next day, you see Parliament quizzing the guy who manufactures that, whatever it's called, saying this should be scrapped. So meaning that maybe you TV stations, you are also giving us fake information about products. Why would you advertise Mukama Nayamba or whatever product it is, and then the next day it is? Do you have like a system of censoring to see whether this is genuine, or you just take the man and?
No. There's always a committee to authenticate information that comes in from an advert. Just that, you see, that committee is not empowered.
A committee with UCC?
No.
Or
inside the media
the station?
House. Yes, but that committee is not empowered, and it's not entirely to authenticate whether this is fake or not, because you see, we also don't have the capacity. We are victims of the fake products, like every other member of the public. So we operate within an area that we do not understand fully. If we had the capacity to authenticate whether the product is fake or not, maybe we would be doing better. But the committee entirely looks at whether it meets the standards, is it HD quality, does it offend some people, and many other things. Is it fit for TV? Is it fit for the audience? Do we need to put parental guidance on the ad before it plays, and all that? When it comes to identifying whether the product is fake or not, it's still a challenge. Even though sometimes it's really easy to tell, and I know some ads have been turned away.
For example, you run ads for beverages. And some of those beverage companies will say sugar-free, fat-free. And yet, information is readily available saying that this soda contains 80% sugar. But you, Canary, I'll come and I'm a big multinational. I'll give you an ad, pay you millions of shillings, and you run it as sugar-free. That's the fakeness I'm talking about.
No, we don't have such measures to be able to identify the fakeness in certain products, or whether what they're saying in the advert actually is what is contained inside that tin. We don't have the capacity.
But when the information is out there, it is well known. Because part of the challenge we have is that the media houses are big influencers on the perception and the mindset that the population has. So the fight against counterfeits is suffering because there is something that is blurring the vision of the population. So the media is in between, between the product and the... So, like we said before we concluded the last bit, there is a need for a behavior change of the media houses. Would you agree?
I agree, but you see that starts with training. I will tell you, we don't know. We don't have this information. You can say this information is actually out there, but we actually don't have this information. I don't know whether the water I'm taking is, safe for drinking or not. I don't know. Well, I've heard about the sugars in the beverages. I've heard about the certain chemicals in foods, but we actually don't know. If perhaps we understood the consequences of the products we consume first as consumers,
then you would act. But Canada, you've covered, for example, you broke a story on fake beauty products, creams, which had banned substances of mercury and hydroquinone. So how do you then, as a TV station, the next day book an ad for a beauty product which has hydroquinone and mercury? This is exactly what I'm saying. Because the information is there. You even have it from your newsroom, but when it comes to the commercial department for the ad, you just take the money.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that even when this product is turned away, this product will be put on social media. Even better, because you see, on social media, I'm able to tell that people between the age of 18 and 35 actually looked at my ad. I'm not saying that these ads are actually existing on our TVs and yet they're harmful. I've not done that verification. But what I'm saying is that what is it worth? The ad is going to be turned away, but
somebody else will.
Somebody else will. So if one, through regulation, and two through training, if there is concerted effort and that effort is deliberate, maybe it's a conversation worth having. And absolutely, it's not yet too late, and I think
we can start somewhere.
Yeah,
but you also recognize that every time you make an ad of a detergent, for example, you advertise the genuine detergent, you are also promoting the fake detergent. You know that?
Unknowingly, yeah. Unknowingly.
Because the detergent looks the same, price is the same, probably sold.
Yeah, but my question also is, how does this product also get to the market? I think that there should be, it shouldn't completely be a blame for the media. How does this product get to the market? You're advertising maybe Ariel that's white and green in color, and there's also another thing called Ariel, and it's also white and green. So when I'm shopping, because I've seen white and green, I'll just grab and put in the cart. So the thing is, how does this product get on the market? There's also need to, and that's why we do these stories we do, be able to put government on spot and say this is fake, it shouldn't be out there on the market.
We need to take a break. We are here with Canary Mugume, an investigative journalist. By the Canary, you are not originally a journalist. You are an IT
specialist.
So you maybe should tell us in the next segment why you left IT and came into journalism. We need to take a break at this point. Welcome back to the last segment of our conversation here. I need to correct Canary Mugume, not Mugisha. But you did protest. Seems like
No, because I'm used. People call me Canary Mugisha. Oh, that's okay.
Mugisha name is more popular, maybe than.
No, I was named after Charles Canary Mugisha, who was a radio news anchor. So
Radio Uganda.
Radio Uganda, yes.
Is your
in the 90s?
Or?
No, wait, I've never met his family. I don't know him. My mom, I think, listened to him a lot.
So that's why I always call you. Yes, I remember Canary Mugisha on Radio
Charles
Uganda.
Canary Mugisha. I think he died, but many people, when I meet them and they listen to him, they say, "Oh, Canary Mugisha," and I was like, "No."
But you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Representing the Canaries.
Thank you.
Of this world. Canary Mugume, you're still a bridegroom. You've just recently married.
Yeah.
And I was joking that you need to repeat the wedding because there wasn't enough space for all those people who wanted to attend, including myself. But we have a problem. You are a young man. You have so many followers. So many people are looking up to you. You have gotten the mantle of the marriage institution now, which is problematic or good, depending on how you handle. So you're an example for young people who want to be married. So this marriage institution that you have come into is also suffering.
Don't tell me there are fakes.
There are fakes there. We were interviewing Pastor Malay here. We also interviewed a Muslim scholar, and they were talking about the changes that are taking place even in the marriage institution. As a young man, how have you embraced yourself to deal with the challenges in marriage, seeing as many young people are looking up to you? If you succeed, they succeed. If you don't, maybe they give up.
One, I would say God. I think I said on my wedding that I want to thank God who has brought me this far, and I leave everything to God. But also, most importantly, commitment is like my number one in marriage.
Commitment to the marriage.
Commitment to the marriage. Because things will always happen, but every time you think, you know what, this marriage is not working, I think I should. Because I mean, I've dated this woman for 8 years. We're like in a marriage, but not really. Then we got married in the 8th year. So problems will come up. Now new problems of marriage, even in the last 3 months. But I think what is most important, knowing inside your heart that you're actually committed to this marriage. And whatever action that you do must reflect that commitment. And that will actually be seen even in your partner. I'm not really a preacher about marriage, but I think that commitment, as long as it exists, the challenges will always be something to solve. And I always tell my partner that don't pray that these challenges don't come. Just pray that when they come, at least we have a way to solve them. Otherwise, then we'll not have an opportunity to learn on how marriage is handled.
One of the biggest challenges young people face in entering into the institution is that when they see the kind of wedding that Canary Mugume and his wife had, the people who attended, the cost, they can't just afford. So they give up on the thing, or if they try to pursue it, they go and contract dates, they fake things and try to have. To what extent is money, in your view, contributing to the fakeness we're seeing in the institution?
It's a big factor, but also maybe what money is driven by what? I think it's driven by the pressure to be able to do things, what other people are doing. You have to be genuine to yourself. We're talking about fakes, right? You have to be genuine to yourselves. as a couple. What actually can work for us? Beyond that wedding day, it's going to be the two of you. Whether you have done a 1 billion shillings wedding or actually a wedding at a budget of 10 million, it's going to be the two of you. I don't know who you're trying to impress. I did that because, my friends and they were really supportive. My friends, my family, they were really supportive, and they said, well, this is the wedding we should have. So, but then putting all that aside, I was still genuine to myself and say, what is actually something that I want and she wants and our both families want, and then we settled for that. So I think that many young people should put that in their hearts, and
So they should not lose hope because
No,
they are not as popular as Canary and they don't have many people running to support them. They can have.
I mean, I've seen people say COVID and the lockdown was a good excuse to have a wedding, just because you now can accommodate few people. But I think even now is still an opportunity to get married and live your life. At the end of the day, what is most important out of that wedding date is the union of the two and the holy matrimony. So the rest really are actually by the way. You don't want to host each and everyone. I wanted to host 2,000 people, only hosted 300. So the demands will actually never be satisfied. Yeah.
To what extent is social media building or breaking marriages from your experience as somebody who lives on social media?
Social media has exposed us to a lot of new people. You maybe be chatting with this person for months and years you've never met, and feel like, when you get home, maybe you're stressed, and when you're on social media, this person takes away your stress and decide to say, maybe I should take this thing to another level, maybe have an affair with them. So I think social media exposure.
So you met your wife on social media?
No. I met my.
Or in the real life?
I met my wife on TV. She was working on WBS TV. And social media was not a big deal then in 2013.
But there are so many young people who are meeting on social media and proposing to each other to get married and so on.
Yeah.
You think that works?
I mean, it doesn't work because you see, by the time I think I got married to her, we had lived a life that is genuine. So you meet this person on social media and talk for months and it feels real. Again, the fakes. So I think that the exposure that social media comes with is a bit problematic, and that can be a danger to marriages. That exposure, I think, should be not entirely regulated, but also persons.
Can you even regulate it?
No, you can't. There's a lot of freedom, but I think persons should be careful, and most importantly, know what they want.
As a media personality, you're familiar with Showbiz. There is a feeling or a belief that Showbiz is promoting a fake culture, a make-believe culture. So everybody likes to be like Canary, like Kardashian, like who, and that it is actually driving consumption of fake, especially branded products.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. I know sometime I was on pressure to do certain things and live a certain way. It's not until I actually experience it, be like, but what am I actually up to? What am I doing things? Why am I doing things to impress people? Because now people all of a sudden start to follow you, and you feel like you should start to impress them, tell them about your life. And sometimes this life is not entirely what it is in reality, but you have to fake it. So yes, showbiz culture, I'm not sure I'm in showbiz, but the showbiz culture actually creates a life that does not exist. And many people now want to live, but not everyone has to be popular, not everyone has to be in showbiz. I mean, people, again, need to know what they want and whether it really resonates with what they interact with on a daily. When you actually interact with all these celebrities we see on TVs, the baby cools, the Bobby Wines, the Chameleons, the biggest names in music and maybe politics. When you actually interact them one-on-one, what you see in their music videos or what they actually do on TV is not necessarily what happens in
real life.
Yeah. And I think that young people, that is why like such a conversation is important, because young people will never understand that that is not what happens in their real life. Maybe it does, but not entirely. So I think that we should have more genuine conversations with ourselves, but also with these people, to make the young people, they should also feel a responsibility to create a culture of mentorship. You never know what you've said that will change someone's life.
TV is mentoring people the wrong way. TV broadcasts. Because you have whatever programs they are, you have this person who comes and is talking about how they are living life on cloud 9 and everything is going right. And so that is creating some fuss there. And but there's something that interests me about how you've been able to build yourself up to this level, which is something genuine that we need to see as a behavior in the youth. We have a challenge with the youth being responsible. Many youth have a sense of entitlement. Even when they want to find a job, getting to do the job is a problem. They want to be praised. They want, respect. How have you managed at the tender age of 27 to have been able to grow through the ladders, the steps, to do the big things you've done in media? And what message would you give to the youth who are aspiring, who think it's easy to just be a Canary Mugume, just like that?
Well, I think that one of the things that is just natural, which is the drive. What drives you as a lawyer or as an advocate in this space? No one comes to give you money. No one is really paying you to do what you do. And I usually say that for people who are self-driven, even if they were not paid, I think they will still do it. And I think I've lived through that. When I started working at NBS, I was just a trainee, not really being given anything, but the self-drive. And I think that the desire to do excellent work, the desire to impact on a community or do a story and see a story being aired on TV and has my name on it, that desire and the passion to execute that gives you the self-drive. That is one. Number two, you might have all that, but you're indisciplined.
Discipline is key.
Discipline is very key. And discipline, especially like in careers like ours, must go with integrity. Doing the right thing, whether there's anyone watching or there's no one. Discipline is key. You will have...
Break it down. What do you mean by discipline? Some people might think discipline, some young people might think discipline is not insulting people and generally being good-mannered. What do you mean with discipline in relation to work?
So discipline is being true to your work and the people you actually work with. And as I said, you have to have integrity that really moves along with discipline. You might think that you're actually doing something wrong and no one will ever see it. But even 5 years from now, that thing will always come out. But also, even if it doesn't come out, every time you do something wrong, you see someone's story and you don't want it to air, or you can be of help, but you don't want to be because you feel selfish, or you go out there and you're being paid to do a story, an influencer conversation on TV. Every time something like that happens, it is paid back to you maybe tenfold. You will never know, but you see things happening that you understand that actually there's something wrong that you did. But every time you do something good, you don't need to post it on social media that this is a random act.
Every time you do something good. Many young people think that to do good, they have to be paid.
No, you don't have to be paid.
The question always is, how much are you paying? That job is not paying me enough. So they are hopping all over the place. Money and youth. How is that balanced? How are you dealing with it?
Let me tell you, I think that right from the start, my desire was to do stories that have impact on community. My desire was to have my story aired and it's influencing some change. And you see, when you get to that stage, all you need now is excellence. And I always tell friends that, you see, whatever work that you do, it has to reflect excellence. Then otherwise you're not an excellent lawyer, you're not an excellent journalist, you're not an excellent doctor. But every time you do your work and it is pushed by that desire, I think that the money will always come.
It will follow you.
It can never be number one factor on why you're doing things. There's a lot of pressure for young people, and I know most of them, you have to take care of families, you have to maybe take care of your partners, or even just dress good and look good. But I think you have to be patient. So for me, patience, discipline, integrity, self-drive, all those go hand in hand.
You're asking the youth to pursue excellence, okay? But the youth are the majority in Uganda, in Africa, and we are a dumping ground for fakes, for counterfeits. So how possibly can the youth listening to you pursue excellence when they are consuming counterfeits, when they are exposed to? How does that work out?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't know how that can be done, but maybe that's the time that you provide us with a mentorship. I don't think we can do this on our own. Maybe it's about that time you tell us how you made it, how you made things work, how you're able to last in marriages 20 years, you're able to do work, create a company and it lasts 30 years. Maybe it's about that time that you share. Otherwise, if we are the majority and we're a dumping place for all the fakes and we're living in a third world country, I think we're headed for a disaster.
Of course, maybe you'll host me on one of your programs so that I talk something outside counterfeits. But back to that counterfeit question. The fakes on the market are increasing. We have increased cases, for example, of cancer among the youth. This was a disease formerly believed to be for older people. Why? Because what the youth are eating, the food they are eating, the cosmetics they are using are fake. And so I think that as a youth leader, I can call you a youth leader in your own right, you need to stop a lot of attention to entertainment, who pulled it off, who had the best look. Because I think your priorities are on things which are, fashion, you don't go to depth. So probably you need a mindset change in outlook to life. Life is more than the dress you're wearing, the nice suit that or the nice watch you're putting on. But I think there's a need for a mindset change. Would you agree in the way the youth look at life?
Absolutely, and in many things, in the employment sector, in our social life, I agree there's need for a mindset change. But also, most importantly, I think, well, you've crowned me a youth leader. As youth leaders, I think now it's time to start that movement. It's time to start that revolution of mindset change. And these youth leaders actually have followings. They have people that listen to them. They influence thought processes. They influence behavior change. They are the ones that are given spaces on media. So I think that as youth leaders, it's about that time that we start that movement. If we are going to see a change in even the
society,
even the generation that is coming, we have to start it now, or else I think
we need to close, Canary. We've not had sufficient time. You appear to have too much inside you that you need to share, but we have to close. Any special message for the new year, for people out there, for the youth, specifically with regard to fakes? Because I know you're going to be covering more and more stories of the fakes. Any message for the new year?
Yeah, I'll be covering more stories on fakes. I should look out for them. But most importantly, I think identifying genuine products begins with you. Identifying genuine services begins with you. There are even fake services out there that not necessarily are packaged in tins or buckets. It begins with you. Are you genuine with yourself? Are you genuine inside your heart? Are you living a life you should be living, or you're trying to fake it? That genuine conversation should happen inside your heart, and that will manifest on each and everything that you actually do. It's important that we remain genuine to ourselves, genuine to the people that love us and the people that we love, genuine to our families and friends, and that sense of responsibility to remain genuine will manifest to each and everything that we do.
Wow, thanks, Canary. That's the message. Be genuine, be genuine, be genuine for 2022. Our declaration here is let's have a counterfeit-free 2022 and beyond, because counterfeits are harmful. Counterfeits make you lose money. Counterfeits make you lose your health. Counterfeits do not benefit you as a person. They do not benefit the country in general. So we would like to sign off by thanking you for following us again into the new year. This is just our second program. We hope and plan to continue this programming for the whole of 2022 and beyond. And we would like to thank those who make a date with us every Friday to watch and support this program, to like, to share, to subscribe. So until the next episode, we'd like to sign off by saying, don't be fake, buy and sell genuine always.